Buongiorno, welcome. My name is Chantel and this is Faces of Italy. Today we're going to start out with an Italian vegetable omelette and finish up with a chicken Alfredo Rollatini. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, folks. We're gonna get started on our Italian vegetable omelet, which really can be served at any time of day. So we're gonna start out with a 10 to 12 inch nonstick skillet, or you can use your stainless steel if you're comfortable with that. I find that omelets are best done in Teflon or nonstick. I'm gonna put that on the large burner and just start warming up the pan. Medium-high heat would be fine. Put a little nonstick cooking spray, and we're gonna get away with the nonstick cooking spray to cut a few of the fat calories. And get started with our garlic. And I'm gonna choose a few different vegetables today. We're gonna do garlic, mushrooms, a few grape or cherry tomatoes, and some spinach. And I'll explain my selection as we keep going. So we're gonna crush our garlic clove right underneath our blade of our knives, and that's gonna start releasing all of those oils and flavors. You can smell the aroma coming up as soon as I crack the clove. All right, that's wonderful. We'll throw that right in our pan and get it sizzling. And if that heat doesn't come around as quickly as you'd like, just turn your heat up a little bit. Now I'm gonna go on to the mushroom. Go ahead and discard the stem. You're welcome to if you'd like. I prefer no stem. I'm gonna slice it nice and thin. The thinner we slice them, the faster they're gonna cook through. And our eggs are gonna cook rather quickly. So we wanna make our mushrooms thin. And I'm gonna leave them in the big chunks because I really like the flavor. And put those over to the side and wait for our garlic to start warming up. When that's happening, I can crack my eggs and start whipping those up as well. I'm using 3 eggs for a 1 serving omelet. You're welcome to use more or less depending on your appetite, but the average omelet works nicely with 3 medium or large eggs. I can smell that garlic starting to sizzle. There we go. Now I'm going to use a fork and just whip them up. All right, got those whipped. We're going to set those over to the side here and grab a spatula and stir around our garlic a little bit. So we can smell the aroma starting to come up. It's pungent, it's beautiful, we love garlic. So we're gonna go ahead and add in those mushrooms now. And let those kind of solidify with the garlic and get the flavor in. Now I'm gonna be cutting my cherry tomatoes into halves, and I've chose these kind of tomatoes because they tend to be a little less juicy. And the less liquid you have in, the easier it's gonna hold together. So we'll just half those and throw them right in with our mushrooms. Now, like I said earlier, you can have this dish really at any time of the day. It's great for brunch, or in my house, we can do it for dinner. And throw that in too. You can see my pan's starting to heat up, so I'm gonna turn down a little bit. And just before my tomatoes start to break down, I'm gonna wanna add in my eggs. And give it a quick whisk, just in case it's settled. And pour that right into the pan. And it's gonna start cooking almost immediately. You just wanna kinda give it a little shake and center all of those ingredients. And with an omelet, Rubber spatula really works the best to get it unstuck around the corners here. How nicely that comes off. I'm going to do a little oregano and a little salt and pepper at this point so that it cooks right into it. Now, oregano, because we love it. If you'd like to do some basil, some parsley or thyme, go ahead and throw that in there too. There we go. Now, this is the trick with an omelet. Everybody's like, I can't do omelets. I can't flip them. It's too difficult. You don't have to flip them. Come up here and pull it back, and then let the extra egg run around. And see, now we have some egg getting cooked. We don't have to worry about the flip. We're just gonna let that solidify. I'm gonna throw a little mozzarella cheese on the top and keep it going. There we go. And if you'd like, we can add some onions in there. If you have onions in your fridge, or some green peppers would be great. Or you can just do cheese and meat. Bacon or some prosciutto is really great in them as well. Now, right before we flip it, we're gonna lay some spinach down on it. And I'm waiting until the end because I want my spinach to be bright green and plentiful. I don't want it wilty or soggy or wet. Here we go. And I'm gonna grab a larger rubber spatula, and this is where we'll want the larger one at the end. You can get right down around the sides here and flip it. That came out wonderful. And if it rips or tears a little bit, hey, extra character. Get that tomato over there. And as you can see, this is all gonna cook down. The cheese will melt. We'll just leave it for a couple seconds. If you find that your omelet is too big and that it's not cooking all the way through, throw it in a warm oven, and of course an oven-safe dish, for a couple minutes and just get the eggs solidified all the way through. You do want your egg cooked. So we should be nicely browned. We'll bring it over to the platter and get it going. And that should slide right out. Y bella. All right, folks, so spinach, mozzarella, garlic, mushrooms, and a few tomatoes. We got ourselves an Italian vegetable omelet. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. At this point, we are gonna go through basic steps of a classic Alfredo sauce. Three main ingredients. Super simple, and people get really overwhelmed by it. There is no need to be overwhelmed. We're gonna get our stove going here, and we want a very low heat. And we're gonna start out with a little bit of garlic, as usual. And in this part of the segment, we are gonna use our garlic press instead of crushing and chopping. Now, the same way I was gonna crush earlier and release the flavors, we're gonna do to get the skin off of our garlic clove. See how nicely it just peels right off? Simple, easy peasy. See, I told you it wouldn't be hard. And get that right out of the way. And I just have a regular basic kitchen press. They make a little more fancy ones. This suffices. A little elbow grease, you're good. Get right in there and crush it. And we're gonna be using butter for this recipe instead of our usual extra virgin olive oil. I'm just gonna take and scrape the garlic off. Now, it's important that you keep your heat low because you do not want your garlic to brown at all. So we're gonna get our butter right in here, and I've used 1 tablespoon of butter, and just get it melting. And if the butter starts to sizzle, turn your heat down. I'm gonna repeat it a lot because we need reminders. All right. So when that's melting, we'll walk through our other ingredients. I got about 2 cups of grated Parmesan cheese, about 1/2 cup of whole milk, and about 4 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. Now, I have a little bit of flour here on the side just in case I need it, and we'll walk through why I may or may not when we get there. I prefer milk and heavy cream because it gives a thicker flavor, a more creamy flavor, a rich, beautiful texture. I don't suggest low-fat milk or skim milk. You do not want to skim on any of the fat in here. And you got tablespoons of butter. Go for it. So now we're going to add in our milk and heavy cream right on top of the butter. As you can see right down in the pan, there is no color being developed here. This is just melted butter and garlic. And our heavy cream. This is also a recipe you're going to want to be able to stay right near the stove for. You're not going to want to run away and go check on the kids or anything like that. You need to stay right here so that we don't scald our milk. So now we're just going to blend the fat and the dairy together with a fork. And you can use a mini whisk, a regular whisk if you'd like. I have a little more hand control with a fork. So as that's heating up, we're going to get our Parmesan ready. Now people use a lot of flour when they do basic cheese sauces, and that's in the beginning when we make our roux. I didn't have to make a roux for this sauce because everything really blends together nicely, and that heavy whipping cream makes it a little more thick. Originally, you're welcome to use half a tablespoon or so of flour, and an easier way to remember is to do equal parts of fat and flour for your original roux. All right, going back over here, seeing how our dairy product is going. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and add in our Parmesan cheese. Now we're just going to throw it right in on top and start whisking it together. Again, staying right on it so that the cheese doesn't burn on the bottom and then we don't scald our milk. And if you want to be crazy and throw in a little extra flavor, get a tablespoon of mozzarella in there. And just come in and start whisking. So as soon as I get this blended, I'm going to show you folks how to get some thin fillets of chicken going to stuff our rollatinis with, because this is, after all, chicken Alfredo rollatinis. All right, so we got our cheese blended here, and that's going to start cooking down and mixing together, melting, gooey, delicious. And over here in the skillet, all I'm going to be doing is taking my chicken breast and putting some small fillets from here into my pan with some salt, pepper, and garlic. Nothing fancy, nothing crazy. And after this is going, my sauce will come together and we'll get them working. So folks, why don't you stay tuned and we'll be right back and we'll whip it all together. Welcome back, folks. I'm just stirring our Alfredo sauce here, making sure it doesn't stick or scald to the bottom of our saucepan. As you can see, it's starting to thicken up nicely here. Right before we left, we added about 1.5 cups of Parmesan cheese, about 1/2 cup of milk, a few tablespoons of heavy cream, and some garlic and butter. So I see it's not really thickening up as quickly as I'd like it to, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of flour and show you how that works. And over here, my skillet is starting to heat up so I can get my chicken going. Just a little bit here, and it's not going to affect the flavor as long as you don't use too much. If you use too much, it's going to make it a little more bland, and you can start tasting the flour in it. Oh yeah, look at that whisking together. And if it happens to be too thick or you added a little bit too much cheese, then add a little bit more milk. That's perfectly all right. You just don't want to add and take away too much because then you're starting to affect the base flavor and the ratio of the ingredients. All right. And to get the rest of this flour beaten in here, I'm going to use my whisk. Here we go. And my pan is heating up nicely. There, you can see it whisk together. Great, starting to solidify. Okay, so we're going to turn that heat down real low and come over here and focus on our chicken. Leave the whisk right in it. A little bit of uvu to lubricate the bottom of our pan. It is, of course, a nonstick pan, but you don't want to abuse that accommodation. So here, I'm going to bring in my separate cutting board because no cross-contamination allowed, and our chicken breast. Now I just have one breast chicken here, and I'm going to get a few chicken slices off the side, just like this. You see, that's real nice. And the thinner the little fillets, the faster they cook. So we're just going to do maybe 4 here. And you're welcome to stuff them with anything you'd like. Of course, steak is my favorite to eat with Alfredo. You can do sausage, like a hot Italian sausage. Get that right out of the way. Or even turkey. Turkey would work nice. There you go, and one more. Just some chicken strips. Get them right here on the pan. Ooh, yeah, the temp was just about perfect. When you set your chicken in, you want to just barely hear it start sizzling. All right. So we're gonna bring over some S&P and a little bit of oregano and get those spiced up, and maybe throw a little pepper in our Alfredo sauce as well. Get my chicken stuff right out of the way. A little salt, little pepper. And those are cooking up real nice, and they won't take more than 2 or 3 minutes. And a little bit of oregano. Right. Now, if you come over to our Alfredo sauce, you can see where it's finely whipped together. Go ahead and smooth it out. I added a little oregano in there too. Why not? It's definitely not going to take away from the flavor. Oh yeah, that is exactly the consistency we want our Alfredo sauce to be. So now that that's all done, I'm going to shut the burner right off. We do not need any more heat. And set it right over to the side. Now back to our chicken. It is just about time to flip it. We don't want it over browned because that texture ends up making it chewy. And when we're stuffing it, we want a nice smooth bite all the way through. So you want to make sure not to over brown your chicken strips. There, those look great. All right, and I'm also going to use a little bit of tomato in this, just because I think it gives it a little color. We're going to take the top off. I selected a beefsteak tomato. It's what I had laying around the fridge. The flavor is amazing, the juices are great, and they really complement the flavor nicely. So let's just slice here. I'm just going to use 2 here. And slice these up and put them on the side. Absolutely wonderful. All right, folks, our chicken is just about fully cooked here. So we are gonna flip it, get it out of our pan, take a little break, and when we get back, I'll show you how to get them all wrapped up and baked in the oven. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. We have had a great show so far. We have learned how to make some classic Alfredo sauce. We pan-fried a little bit of chicken, and now we're gonna get going on how to get them all rolled up and in the oven. You wanna start out with some lasagna noodles. All cooked, maybe a little al dente if you'd like, but completely flexible. I mean, 4 of those, and I do about 2 per serving because they are filled with a bunch of cheese and chicken. So we'll get going, get started. I'm gonna lace a couple tomatoes along them just for a little extra color and flavor. And I'll do all 4 at once. And I'm going to use some mozzarella as well as my Parmesan and my Alfredo. I'm going to put a piece of chicken in or break up a piece of chicken rather, in each one. And it doesn't have to be diced or stripped or anything fancy. You can just break it up and throw it right in the middle. Nobody's gonna see it in there. There we go. And on top of these, I'm gonna put all of the mozzarella cheese. Well, not all of it, but you know, a sufficient amount. There we go. And I'm gonna leave a little extra pasta down at the end so that it'll seal and we won't be getting a bunch of that cheese melted everywhere on the bottom of our dish as well. And I'm gonna bake it in a meatloaf pan. Some people call it a bread pan. Right here, the glass Pyrex. And this is so I can line all 4 of them right beside each other and then top it with the Alfredo and not lose all that Alfredo on the bottom. So to roll them, and just take and fold over the top and just carefully roll all the way up. And you see your ingredients are gonna slip down. So we won't waste any by the end of it. And I'm gonna go ahead and spray a little bit of Pam on the bottom, not too much, because our cheese sauce is really heavy in fat content, so it's gonna lubricate the pan quite nicely, just for safety precautions. Then you wanna lift that rollatini up and throw it right in your pan and go through real quickly with all 4 of them. You can bring up the end and squish it right in there. And the kids will have a really good time with this one too, because they can sit here and get all messy and get their hands working in it. And if you'd like to switch it up, I said earlier you could use steak, you could use chicken, you could use turkey. This would be great with pepperoni in it. You could do a red sauce instead of an Alfredo. The sky's really the limit. Now, I'm not gonna waste any of this cheese and I'm gonna throw it right on the top. You can bring our rollatinis up here and we can see how nicely the 4 of those fit in the dish. All right, and a little mozzarella on top, and then our Alfredo. Now, if you'd like to see, the Alfredo has come together real nicely, and it's ready to be poured over the top. Here we go. And I think I forgot to mention earlier, folks, that we're on our oven preheated at about 400 degrees. Here we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in. We have it all topped now. And I went ahead and I made one in advance so that we could see what the ending product looked like, because it's absolutely beautiful. And the way you'll know that it's all done is it'll be all brown and gooey on the top and look like everything's kind of melted out, but I promise it hasn't. All right, and get it on top of some spinach here. Look at it gooing. There we go. Put a couple tomatoes on top, give it a little color. Wonderful. A couple more. Now, folks, quick, easy chicken Alfredo rollatinis. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we have had a jam-packed day. We started out with an Italian vegetable omelet, which can be served at any time of the day, satisfying and nutritious. And then we went through all of our basic steps of a classic Italian chicken Alfredo rollatini. So I'm super excited, and I'm gonna get really hungry and eat right now. So until next time, ciao. All right, folks, I'm just gonna take a few seconds to tell you about some basic Italian ingredients, fresh herbs that you wanna keep around your kitchen handy. The first one and most important would be our garlic bulb. When we break off the clove, it just looks something like this. Smell the pungent aroma coming through. And then thyme is another one of our favorites. And then our basic basil leaf. And don't forget about oregano and parsley as well. Thank you.